Thank you very, very much. It has been a long but penetrating and illuminating guided tour through the global economy and all the functional areas of the global economy. Almost an hour and a half. Dr. Sinai is so kind enough to share all these enlightening views with us. Since he has to go to KDI, which is located in the other end of the town soon, so we don't have much time left for Q&As. So maybe he will entertain maybe just one or two questions or comments from the floor. Any questions? Dr. Young? Yes.
Yeah. Well, you have covered basically all the grounds on which we could have been prodding you, and thank you for this very exhaustive update on the state of the world economy. Just one question, which you were not supposed to be covering in any case. Especially after the financial crisis in Asia, the level of investment in this region has come down and has remained lower, a few percentage points relative to GDP compared to before the crisis, except in China. This certainly has been the case in Korea, and we are wondering why this is the case. Is this because of the short-termism of the American management which has come into Korean stock market, or is this because the investment level was too high before the crisis? Any assessment about why this should be the case?
I think of the alternatives you presented, investments were too high before the crisis, and there are lags. My sense is the investments are shifting as we speak, and we'll move more and more to Asia. And a year from now, you'll see quite a different picture. It's the lag effects of how these things flow. The stock market monies into Japan, for example, have been mainly non-Japanese, and they have lagged in other parts of Asia. I don't think that'll be the case this year. It is all relative, as the recognition lag of what is going on around the world, as quick as it is these days, it's quicker than it used to be, but as that it changes, if it change in the direction that I'm talking about, particularly depending on the dollar, you can get some very abrupt shifts in movements of funds.
Well, two questions she's been submitted here, but one is regarding Japanese economy, the other one for Korean economy. Actually, you covered some of this part, and actually Dr. Sinai mentioned that Korean economy will grow somewhere around 5%, which is a kind of consensus forecast in Korea. And then Japanese economy, again, actually Dr. Sinai has been quite bullish on Japanese economy, and that's part of the answer. I think the bottom line of Dr. Sinai's presentation, which is really more interesting to us, is that the Asian economy as a whole will be doing better than last year, particularly Korean economy. Last year we were supposed to have grown only about 3.9%, but this year government is forecasting to grow about 5%, despite the fact that the U.S. economy is not doing as well as last year. And the Chinese economy also will be slowing down a bit, but as Dr. Sinai indicated, the Japanese economy and then other economies will fill the gap, and therefore, and the domestic demand also. So, in terms of the overall macro growth rate, this year will be better than last year. But I'm sure the Koreans are concerned about the growth potential for years to come. And from the cyclical point of view, I think about 5% is respectably enough, but it's not really sufficient enough. And to have sustained growth, we have to have robust investment increase. And the particular plant and equipment investment is not going fast enough, so that is one of the concerns.
The comment I would make on that is that there's a tendency to get upside surprises in situations like this, and part of it is the tight trade flows and all of the businesses around trade and transactions businesses, which tend to give a lift in cyclical upturns in Asia because of the tight ties in trade. And the data recently on many countries have been producing upside surprises. So our thought is that, and it's also in the nature of these cycles, a little hard to see, but I think it'd be interesting to see whether the pattern repeats itself. In situations like this, there are more upside surprises and downside surprises. The Japanese economy maybe would be stronger rather than weaker. The Chinese economy, and we monitor that very closely, was supposed to have a slowdown. Last year didn't have a slowdown. Indian economy is growing faster. The South Korean economy 5%. If that's wrong, because this, after all, these are ranges. We can't be precise. If 5% is wrong, it's probably going to be 5.5, 5 3/4, as opposed to 4.5, 4 3/4. Now we sit here today and we say, how can that be? How can that be? But there are things that go on in the interactions of the economies in business and finance that I can't figure out. Nobody here can figure out. And what we see now conditions us. But what systematically goes on in so many situations like this, particularly in the case of Asia, is it turns out to be better than you think.
Yeah. You know, again, I'd like to remind you of the fact that a couple of years ago, many of the well-known forecasters in the United States and the respective economists talked about double dip. And at the time, I had a private conversation with Dr. Sinai in New York and here again too. And actually, he was quite optimistic about the U.S. economy and the global economy. He never thought that double dip will occur, and he was right. And I hope he is right again this time. Next year he comes here. He promised me he will come always here around this time of year. So I hope it turned out to be that he was right. We can say that.
Will you still ask me if I'm wrong?
You know, this economic forecasting is a really hazardous business, but he chose this business, and he has in this business for almost more than one generation. But he still not only survives and he thrives on in the industry. So it proves his talent, and we really appreciate for your sharing time with us, and we'll wait for 1 more year, maybe even.